Hello, my name is Dan Johnson and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be talking about the latest 8th Doctor Time War box set, and that is called Branches. This is part of the Uncharted saga. This started a couple of years ago with a set called Reflections. There was a set before that called Cast that kind of introduced this new TARDIS team, and then they went straight into Reflections, and having re-listened to it, I really enjoyed Reflections. I thought it was really good. I thought it was setting up a lot. There's a lot of interesting elements, and the ending of that box set saw the Doctor and Alex, his great-grandson, part. And because of that parting, I was really excited to see what they were going to do next. The second set, which I reviewed, called Pursuit, I thought was pretty good on the whole. It had some issues, but I really wanted some answers in this set, which until recently I presumed was the last of this sort of saga. But it seems to me like they're doing another Uncharted box set. I'm not entirely sure. It's a bit up in the air. I haven't seen one that's been announced, but I presume another one is coming. In this box set, though, the Doctor and Alex are searching for Cass and find a swashbuckling substitute that goes by the name of Cassie and is basically the same character. Together, they explore the Uncharted and find out what happened to the Daleks of this universe. There are going to be some very mild and brief spoilers ahead. I won't break this box set into individual episodes and talk about them as standalone, because they're not standalone, and also I feel the same about all of them. If you would like, you can go and find the blurbs for these episodes on the Big Finish website. So here are the positives. I thought the imagery of everything was very good. The sound design particularly helps in that. We have a lot of very cool, very fairy tale-like things going on, like we have webs or branches across time, hence the box set title. We have the Council of Susans, which is just a really fun idea, reminding me a lot of Rick and Morty and, the Council of Ricks. So there's something quite fun, whimsical and fairy tale-like about these episodes as I'm listening to them. I think it's a bit of a shame that Cassie is basically just Cass and they didn't make her a little bit more distinct, because if she was more distinct, we'd miss her, the real Cass, a lot more. And because of that, we just have essentially Cass with a sword, who has a different name that's very similar anyway. So because we don't really miss her, the sort of hunt for her feels a little bit redundant, because to us, the audience, we have her in our ears. We still have the dynamic as it was. We're not sort of just two people instead of the dynamic three. We just have somebody that's in story a different person. The trouble is, this saga, and this set particularly, has a lot of missed potential. The first thing that really comes to mind is the Sontarans that are brought up in the end of the first box set. It's kind of like the big cliffhanger, and it really made me excited for what was to come. And they briefly appear in the second box set and don't appear in the third. And I think that's a bit of a waste. They're a really cool idea about Sontarans that have essentially won Gallifrey, presumably during the invasion of it, during the Invasion of Time story from season 15. And I just find it a bit annoying that these really cool ideas are here, but we're focusing on other stuff, and they're introducing these extra characters and these extra bits. And I'm like, there's an army of Sontarans with Gallifreyan technology. That is really cool. I want to hear more about that. Susan is also in this box set, and as much as I love Caroline Ford, she has a very small role. And her role kind of brings up more questions in my mind than it does answers. And I'm not sure if all of the pieces are really there. And maybe it will take a few more listings for me to actually understand that. But I think that her role could have been much bigger. She's a huge part of not just the Doctor's story and his sort of relationship with the Time War at this point, but also Alex's story and their relationship, and everything like that could be so interesting, especially when Alex struggles with his identity, knowing that he's not quite the original Alex. There are moments of this when you kind of feel like they're going in that direction, but they don't deliver it, because Susan isn't in the story very much. And Alex isn't in the room during these conversations where I think it's about to get interesting. And I think that's a real shame. And finally, I think my biggest problem with this box set is the idea of Friend. Because I really like the idea of Friend. I think she's really cool. Especially in this box set when she's played by Daphne Ashbrook, who played Grace in the TV movie. And I think the idea of a creature, an entity, I suppose, playing different versions of the Doctor's companions is really really cool. You know, I've said it's holding a lot of cool ideas. I'm really looking forward to finding out what happened, but I've said that twice now. And this would be the third time that I'm excited to see what happens next with Friend. And it's beginning to become quite infuriating because whatever they're setting up, I don't think it will be worth it, because those thrills have just been seeded over years and years and years. It's going to be, oh, finally, right. That's what it is. It's like no way going to be this extravagant thing. And there's moments where I feel like they're getting to that point, but they don't actually do anything with that. And I think that's a real shame. And it kind of makes the listening of this box set, that's very complicated anyway, rather anticlimactic, because by the end of this set, I actually couldn't believe that it ended. And they have a sort of post-credit scene where they set up another thing. And I'm like, oh, right, okay, we're doing something else now. And I'm not sure what the post-credits thing means. It may mean something to someone. But I was just like, oh, right, okay. I mean, I have theories, I suppose. But I was just like, oh, right, okay, I want to see the answers to these questions. I don't want more questions. And it's beginning to get to the point where it's all you're getting. You know, these are confusing episodes anyway. They're very timey-wimey. They're not simple. And there's a moment in episode 1 where I feel like the Doctor did something that would be huge. And I'm not sure if he did do it or didn't do it, and that's the beauty of audio. But my interpretation thought that that was going to be big, and it just wasn't. It never gets mentioned again. And I think there's a lack of focus within these box sets, and it's beginning to get sort of worse and worse as we're going along. So as much as I enjoyed the stuff that's going on with the Uncharted idea and the imagery and the Daleks and some of the stuff that I obviously don't want to describe, with all these cool elements and this great dynamic, I'm still kind of getting infuriated because I'm not getting anything out of these box sets, because I'm not learning anything more. I feel like they're in the same position more or less as they were in the beginning of this box set than they are at the end. And that is a real shame. And yeah, if I could see my face at the end of listening to episode 4, when I was working in someone's garden and I was digging up weeds and the credits go, and I'm like, so finally, was I satisfied by this release? And I think you can tell it's gonna be a no this time. I think that if you've already purchased these sets, then listen to it, because there are elements in this that I really, really enjoy. There's a lot of stuff that I do like, but there is not the best payoffs of these things, and they introduce a lot of new ideas constantly. And because they have these new ideas, you're trying to work out what's relevant and what's not. There's a story, I think, in the last box set more than in this one, but they talk about stories. And while they're talking about stories, I was trying to work out which one's going to be relevant and trying to remember it, and none of them have been relevant. Like, there's a mystery at the end of maybe box set 1 that, now that I've seen elements of it play out, I was like, that's really not worth teasing. And I think it's a real shame, because I think there's so much promise here for these really cool stories and ideas, and you can do something that's a little bit more unbound, but I just feel like they're not delivering on it. And I think it's a real shame. It really disheartens me to say this, but yeah, I've not been a massive fan. So I don't know what happens after this. Is that the end? Was that the intended ending? Are we getting another box set? Presumably so. Would I be excited for it? Maybe. Given a bit of time, I think I'd be excited to see what they have next. But am I, at this moment, happy with the money that I spent on this box set? No, not individually anyway. That's the end of my review. I hate to be negative on these reviews. I like to be as positive as possible, but I think with this one I really had to work out the words to say what I wanted to get across, and I hope that I have done that without it becoming too rambly or too negative, because that's something I don't want it to be either. In the next week or so, we have the 13th Doctor Adventures, and that is episode 6, which hopefully will be a sort of way of paying off some of the stuff they've been setting up. That would be great. So I'm looking forward to listening to that. But until next time, thank you very much for watching, and I shall see you soon. Goodbye.